what challenges do you face in architectural and design?
The administration and business side of the architectural firm. I'd say that's probably our main challenge, because when you're in architecture school, no one teaches you how to do marketing, no one teaches you how to do taxes, and no one teaches you how to do all the administration and HR side.
In one word to describe Vita Architecture.
Probably impossible. There you go. It would be brilliant if we had a vision document for every single project. Most of the time we don't get them.
Is there any architecture background in your family?
I have a massive family, so I'm sure we do.
Welcome everyone to the another exclusive interview. I'm Amrita Jha. Today we have pleasure to feature Vita Architect, Mr. Bean, a name that reflects creativity, innovation and thoughtful design. First of all, Mr. Bean, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ben. I run practice in London called Vita Architecture, alongside my business partner Ruta Benedite. We typically do sort of a lot of homes, healthcare and hospitality work, sort of in and around the UK, but also pretty much anywhere in the world, to be honest.
Okay. And what inspired you to start Vita Architecture?
It's starting a practice was always something that I wanted to do. So ever since I was a little boy, really. It's something that we've always kind of worked towards, even from sort of during my education times, sort of doing a little bit of part-time work on the side, all the way through sort of professional work, and eventually just took the leap and finally did it, really.
Okay. How would you describe your design style?
Sorry?
How would you describe your design style? What is your
Design style? Personally, I'm a bit of I suppose a bit of a simpleton in that I quite like. I think architecture is probably complex enough as it is, and especially with sort of recent legislation and things, it's just getting more and more complicated. So our architectural approach is typically just very simple but well executed architecture, which is simple is never the easiest thing to do, but in terms of clarity of approach, clarity of mind, that's the kind of approach that we'd like to take to things, really.
Okay. What makes your project unique?
In terms of our architectural practice, I suppose, we started off as a typical architectural practice, sort of doing a lot of what typical architects do, in that it's a kind of service-based industry. We went out there to present ourselves as architects. I suppose in terms of what makes us a little bit more unique now is that our offering is probably slightly a little bit different, in that we prefer to be a little bit more reciprocal to our clients. So it's rather than just working as an architect, it's more offering different kind of services to them, purely on for example, with our residential side, we offer a lot more sites to clients after we look to source projects ourselves. So we look to sort of approach vendors and look for sites ourselves, and then it's a bit more of a two-way street from that perspective. My partner also does a lot of work with financing and things like that, so it's in terms of our approach as a practice, I'd say the sort of reciprocal element of it is probably sort of coming into play a little bit more now.
Okay. And I saw your project Notting Hill's Gate. Can you describe what type of project?
So that was a site in the middle of London. Sort of took off in the middle of COVID, when it was an old disused office, which at the time was the worst possible time to have an office during COVID, because no one would rent it out. So the client approached us to see if we could get planning permission to convert it into 4 different units. So it took a little while for us to get it through planning, but strangely the sort of conditions of COVID actually favoured that, and we spent a couple of years sort of fitting it out, doing all the architectural drawings, all the planning, and the result is we've sort of done all the architectural and interiors, and it's it's something that we're very proud of, really.
Okay. And I saw your limestone house. What was that?
The limestone house is so it's probably about 10 minutes away from where I live. I live in a pretty sort of remote area of England where it's very protected by the green belt. So you're not really supposed to build in sort of these protected areas. So the client approached us knowing that we do a lot of work in and around that kind of planning policy. It currently is an existing house, but has probably about 8 or 9 kind of spread out greenhouses, barns, pig enclosures, chicken coops, and everything. And our approach to it was, well, considering that there's already so many of these sort of disconnected buildings on the site, we could probably connect them all in terms of massing, and argue that if we were to demolish all of these buildings, then that will enable us to establish the principle of one just beautiful house, as opposed to 20 different chicken coops, which is not the most attractive thing in the world. So we've put that into planning. We're currently going through appeal, and hopefully we'll land on an approval on that one sooner or later. But it's an absolutely stunning site on the top of Box Hill, sort of overlooking the views of Box Hill. But it's again another challenge that we have to get through planning, but one that we'll hopefully get to shortly.
Okay. And can you tell me about your favorite project?
Favorite project?
Favorite project.
Favorite project would probably when I first started. First project was probably for my parents. Just a small extension. Obviously, being for my parents is a bit more meaningful for me. But also, just when I started, it was a very different. It was obviously just me, and it was a very different practice then, because your focus is solely on one thing, and it's that for me was a bit more of a passion project. And my parents allowed us to do a fairly contemporary extension to the back of their house. A little bit more wacky, a little bit more crazy, a little bit more unique. But during those days, I probably had a lot more time to focus on one project. Now, for me, the practice has moved on a little bit, and I'm having to sort of manage different facets of the business. It's I'm having to let go of the reins a little bit more. So it's slightly different place.
Are you doing any architecture background in your family?
I have a massive family, so I'm sure we do, but not directly, no. So I think like my cousin's cousin is probably an architect, but no. My family have no relation to the architectural background at all, to be honest. So I'm a bit of a black sheep in that sense.
And tell me, how do you understand the client vision?
The client vision?
Yeah.
Through time, basically. our approach to design is always iterative. So although we ask for a brief and we sit down with the client and listen to them as deeply as we can at the start, I think through every single project, the brief always changes. So in terms of the vision, it would be brilliant if we had a vision document for every single project. Most of the time we don't get them, but I think it's actually more important that we explore their vision with them. So we hold sort of typically every week or every other week, we have engagement sessions with them and we present what we've done. We then note that their vision has slightly changed. The project evolves as we go, really.
I saw your project, the Meadows.
Yeah.
It was office to resident conversation.
The Meadows is actually my house. So
It's your house.
Meadows, it was an old lady that passed away in an old property built in the 1870s. So she hadn't touched it in, I don't know, probably, well, I think it had about 3 or 4 owners before, and they just, every single owner added their own little strange touch to it. And we just decided it was so old and so derelict on the inside, just to rip it out and completely redo it from the start to the end, really. So yeah, between me and my wife, who's also an architect, who argued a little bit about design, but wasn't too bad. We put it back together, and again, it's something that we're very proud of again.
You're doing healthcare facilities work also.
Yeah, so the health.
Of this house is a healthcare facility project.
The healthcare side of our work.
Healthcare facility project.
Our healthcare work, we've got a lot of interior healthcare work that we do. That was more of a pivot during COVID, because we had, I think probably somewhere between 10 to 20 projects stuck in planning. So between myself and my partner, we were just like, well, we've got to pivot somehow. So we started doing some interiors for healthcare work. Just did a couple of projects, and it all kind of flew off from there, really. Some private healthcare guys saw us on Instagram, and it sort of snowballed from there. In that, I'd say now probably around 40% of our work is healthcare. So we do a lot of interiors from that side, which it's good. It kind of aligns a lot to what we want to do aspirationally in terms of design.
Okay. And now next question is, what challenges do you face in architecture and design?
The administration and business side of the architectural firm. I'd say that's probably our main challenge, because when you're in architecture school, no one teaches you how to do marketing, no one teaches you how to do taxes, and no one teaches you how to do all the administration and HR side. And we've made it work. We are 10 years old, but that for us is probably always the bigger challenge for us, just to ensure that our business is operating a little bit more efficiently, really.
Okay. How do you handle a tight deadline?
So every one of our projects has a design program when we set up the appointment documents. So the clients are aware of what our deadlines are. Also internally, we're also aware of what our deadlines are. It's a challenge, as is everything. We have our Monday morning meetings so that all our employees know when we're supposed to have our deadline, when we're supposed to have our QA process. but yeah, it's always a bit of a flexible deadline because it's there's every project slightly different, every resource is slightly different, every employee is slightly different. So it's as much as it's rigid, we're trying to remain as flexible as possible as well.
Okay. Switzerland Hill House. I saw that. It was so beautiful.
So which house?
Switzerland Hill House. Your project.
Oh, Switzerland Hills.
Yeah.
Switzerland Hills was a client that came to us, don't know, probably 2017-ish. Again, it's kind of one of those houses in a very strict planning policy, because you can't really build in those areas because it is a very protected greenbelt area. So again, we had another planning battle in trying to get that one through. But what we've done is create a really sort of lightweight, well, not lightweight, but visually lightweight structure, which is pretty much all glass and timber sitting on top of an existing structure. But our approach again was to try and keep things relatively simple. So in my mind, there's only really three elements to it: the steel work, the glass, and then the timber roof. So trying to keep as minimum sort of trades involved as possible. So I think the results fairly impactful, fairly minimal, looks fairly simple, but was not a very simple thing to put together. So it's we're again very happy with the result. The clients over the moon. It's for us. It was architecturally, love it to bits. The process, I think, was a really interesting learning curve in that to minimize the amount of trades, it just gave us a lot more control over the construction process, because a lot of the time when we do tender packages, sometimes depending on the contractor, if we don't know them, a lot of things change. And by just minimizing the amount of interfaces, the amount of trades, the amount of complexity to it, there was literally no negotiation on this is our tender pack, this is what we're going to build, and that was what it was. So it turned out pretty much exactly as we wanted.
What trend you are currently seeing in architecture?
I mean, there's always trends coming up. I mean, from our perspective, it's impossible to keep up with. But so later on in the week, we're going to go to not later in the week, later in the month, we're going to go to Milan Design Week to see what's coming up there. But internally, we're kind of building systems to ensure that we're knowledge banking on materials, on sustainability, on pricing, and things like that. So it's not so much sort of keeping a pulse on what's the trendiest material, but more so for us at least, especially in the UK, where there's a lot of sort of commercial pressure on building material costs and things like that. From a trend point of view, we're trying to ensure that everything we specify is of value. It doesn't have to be cheap, but it has to be representing good value. And that, in terms of banking that knowledge, we're developing systems to make sure that that's being built on every single project. Same with sustainability, same with durability and things like that. Not sure if that answers the question, but
Actually, one thing, in your project, you're using the material. Where from it comes? The manufacturer is connected with you, or the client is providing you?
they typically come from us specifying them. So very rarely comes from a client. my business partner's from Lithuania, so she's got a lot of contacts there that we link to the UK and to some of our sort of international projects. But we every month we try and go to a different supplier, just to make sure that we're sort of widening the net, really. Again, it comes back to us internally trying to build that system. So we've got an internal system that we're developing that sort of tries to bank the samples in the office, what kind of associated costs they are, what level of sustainability they reach, the associated legislation and things like that. But I wouldn't say that there's a certain country that we get them from or a certain supplier, but there's sort of preferred suppliers that we go to, but we're trying to widen that net every time.
Okay. And what keeps you motivated in this field?
That's a hard question. I think being an architect, you have to love it as well. It's not an easy industry, as you probably know. But I mean, I've always loved design. I know we talked about our challenges being about the business and the administration and the HR side, but for me, I still love being an architect. I do it a lot less than I'm supposed to these days because I'm sort of stuck in that business side of things. But yeah, in terms of motivation, it always comes back to doing what you love, which is design. So yeah, from that perspective, I don't think I really need much more motivation than that, really.
Okay. In one word to describe Vita Architecture, tell me in one word.
I think that's probably impossible. There you go. I don't know. I don't think we can describe it in one word. I think if I did, it would probably come out really badly. The only one I can think of really is simple, but that has negative connotations to it, which is not. But yeah, I'd go with simple for now.
And at last, what is your dream project you would love to work on?
I think over the last couple of years, we've started doing a few hotels, which is where we want to continue going. Really, I think that's where we're happy, and that's what we're going to continue looking at. Yeah, just continuing working on these sort of luxury hotels, which is I think what we're good at and where we're going.
Okay. No, thank you so much, Mr. Bain, to sharing your ideas. Okay.
That's all right. No, thank you for having us.